run than any other prison in the United States, that just to reopen would take millions, if not billions of dollars. And so I think this is the Donald Trump who likes a good prison. He likes to focus on law and order. But I have to agree with Nancy Pelosi on this one. It is just not a serious proposal. I think Gavin Newsom may have chuckled when he heard it, so I don't think this is going to be a real serious proposal.
Jeannie Shane Zaino and Chapin, thank you so much for being with us. And a reminder, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will appear before the House Appropriations Committee tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll have full coverage of the hearing right here on Bloomberg TV and radio.
Thanks for joining us on Balance of Power. This is Bloomberg. We'll see you tomorrow.
Jeg er litt usikker på Ray Kay, for jeg har jo ikke fulgt med siste uka på det. Såpass, ja. Nei, jeg tipper det kommer til å bli mange flere når jeg kommer opp på den gruppa her. Først må det være få komme på flere ganger. Ja, men så når det er 2%, hva skjer for? Når det faller.
This has not been a great time for genius. The people who claim to have it do not seem to qualify for it. The people who diagnose it others seem to have a very, very narrow definition in mind. And the people we can all agree are stone cold geniuses always seem to have a dark side. I read in Bloomberg Businessweek about the biggest crypto genius of them all, Sam Bankman-Fried. At his peak, he was worth like $26 billion. And that was before he was accused of running one of the biggest frauds in American history. His defense is that he is not a criminal, essentially, just inept. What does it mean to have genius in work, in the marketplace, in life? And who is even to say? To make anything simple takes actual genius, and we're going to try to live up to that name together tonight. It's the Business Week Show. Hello, I am Max Abelson, and I'm not a genius, just a regular, slightly above average journalist who has spent about the last decade and a half here at Bloomberg News, and sometimes our magazine, Bloomberg Businessweek, writing about Wall Street's money and power. And what that means is I write about ambition and ownership and imagination and survival and risk and second acts and, of course, genius. Tonight, and in the weeks to come, we are going to be talking about those things at this table with people whose lives and careers and ideas are big or interesting or just really fun. So, welcome. This is the Business Week Show, and it's starting right now. If you consider yourself a master of Wall Street,
is your investment portfolio stretched only between the Big Apple and the Golden Gate? Go local with eToro and diversify your portfolio with local stocks.
Tariff news and potential negatives ahead of us here that I think when those headlines start to flow again, I think you're going to see investors begin to express concern. I think a lot of the rally has been people, repositioned after the pause or the postponement of the reciprocal tariffs, and we're just drifting now in kind of a holding period or just waiting.
You know, it's really interesting, Michael, because with the backdrop of all of the tariff negotiations and talks as communicated from the White House, you have this earnings season where we've been largely watching for how companies are guiding and whether or not they're actually reaffirming some of their expectations that they put out at the beginning of the year. How are you reading through the earnings season in order to get a better gauge of where the market can find some type of at least interim period strength or confidence in one area?
Well, it's interesting. With earnings season, what we've seen is a lot of companies either, maintain the current guidance but say tariffs are incorporated, or freeze their guidance, or less often are they withdrawing it. But the key message is they simply don't know. It's almost like Chairman Powell's response at the last FOMC meeting when the Fed's forecast changed, but the Fed officials didn't change their interest rate forecast. And Powell said it's inertia. If we don't know there's so much uncertainty, there's no point in making a move until we have more clarity. And I think we're seeing the same thing from corporations right now. So while the earnings season is probably better than
kjempevegder av motstand, men problemet er hva Trump vil si. Det er problemet her. Teknisk skal det falle under 1900, men det er Trump prater jo. Han forandrer jo, har jo pressemelding hele tiden, så det er litt vanskelig. Jeg tror ikke folk helt skjønner hvor hardt vi skal falle. Vi kommer til å falle mye når vi faller nå. Mye.
I mean, obviously, it's going to be a company-specific situation depending on what their exposures are and things of that nature. But the one trend you hear talked about is, we don't see the tariff showing up in the hard data yet, or the trade war showing up in the hard data. I think a lot of that was due to a pull forward in Q1 as companies prepared for Liberation Day. So you're looking at activity that was probably artificially stronger in Q1, and I would expect that easing to start materializing this quarter. So I'd be a little more cautious.
Okay, and so
Han sier det jeg sa. Han sa det at tallene på tariffene kommer ikke før neste kvartal. Ordentlig. De tallene vi ser på nå er fra forrige kvartal, før tariffen kicka inn. Akkurat det, altså. Så Trump prater nå. Satt en short der. Ja, Stig.
We have an FOMC meeting kicking off this week, and we could see some movement on tariffs.
Jeg skal hente en tablett. Det er feber, faen.
We're coming into today after a 2-week rally that has been the strongest winning streak since 2004 for equities. So we've erased the Liberation Day losses in their entirety. So I think it is a good opportunity for investors to reposition, take some profits, and be a little more defensive, because like I said, I think the tariff headlines going forward, although we're expecting the president to reduce some tariffs, that has been priced in at this point, and we're still in a situation where the tariffs are going to be around a bit longer, further longer than anyone can actually see at this point in time. So I'd be a little more cautious and take the opportunity of the rally to reposition.
Her sier det traders wait for what deals, what the crook. They're already signed and done, no more tariffs, that's why we already above Liberation Day. What optimism would it be? Clear there are no agreements, there was no agreement ever with Japan. The second semester will start all the way obviously.
All right, welcome back to Yahoo Finance. Here at the Milken Conference in California, I'm Yahoo Finance Executive Editor Brian Sozzi here with a very
Oj, ganske midt på der da, ser jeg.
And of course, I should mention Apollo, the parent company of Yahoo Finance. Mark, good to see you.
Nice to see you.
This is the first time we're getting to talk to you after your earnings call on Friday, and you said something, many things, which we're going to dive into. You said this, quote, I got to get your comment on this. Quote, we have lived through this period of hyper-exceptionalism. I believe we are now back to exceptionalism. What's the difference between the two?
Well, think about what's happened. If you're anywhere in the world for the last 20 years, you have three large markets: China, Europe, and US. For the last 20 years, we've been the cleanest dirty shirt. All the money in the world has come into the US. Think about what's happened to our indices. 10 companies became 40% of the S&P. One of our companies, NVIDIA, was worth more than the market cap of every stock exchange other than Japan. Those 10 companies traded at a 60 PE. All this money came flowing into the US. We were the largest recipients of foreign direct investment 3-4 years in a row. We were it. What we've done, and I'm not saying what the administration wants to do is wrong. I actually believe what they want to do in terms of resetting our trade relations with the world is the right thing to do. But the way it's being done, in the short term we introduced uncertainty, and in the long term we actually damaged the US brand. By just moving precipitously, moving in a non-choreographed way, we've given people a reason to think about whether their money is in fact safe here. Now, I believe it is. I believe we are still 60% of all the capital in the world. We have lots of things going for us, but it would be hard to deny we have not moved down a notch.
Well, I know you do not say that the U.S. brand has been damaged. You don't take that lightly. Why is investing in America still safe?
Anyone who still believes in him must be retard.
We are the largest capital market in the world. We are 60% of all the capital. We have all the growth. We are at 4% unemployment. And whether people like how we got here or not, we're building infrastructure, we're building semiconductor plants, we're building Inflation Reduction Act, manufacturing. Oh, and now we're adding energy, we're ramping defense production, we're doing next generation data and power. Half the time I worry about capital flow, the other half of the time I worry about where are the workers to actually staff what we're building here. We are it. Every place else in the world has the same issues that we have without many of the advantages. So people can, on the one hand, say, I'm concerned about abrupt changes in US policy and what that might mean. On the other hand, we can still step back and weigh our relative advantages up against our competing blocks, and they are manifold.
Last time I talked to you, Mark, was at our Invest conference in the fall, week after President Trump got elected, and you were rumored to be a potential contender for Treasury Secretary. But now
det skjer ikke en dritt der.
The playbook that Secretary.
Jeg ligger meg. Jeg kommer til å være på morgen tidlig. Det skjer ingenting. Jeg skal være opp litt i natt og følge med, men det skjer absolutt ingenting. Det er bare prat om Trump. Jeg gidder ikke sitte her. Jeg får ikke gjort en dritt. Vi snakkes i morgen. Så godt. Jeg kommer på morgen tidlig også, for jeg kommer til å sitte oppe i natt, men det skjer jo ingenting her. Forhåpentligvis kommer det litt ned nå. Rentene stiger sånn småsakte i hvert fall. Greit det. Så godt da. Ha det.